intimate lifestyle have changed with motherhood, as some people report that their date nights had decreased by 43%.
Babies are destructive of relationships. If you have a
Those are finding words.
you cannot get breastfeeding advice from somebody's mama who's never breastfed in her life. I slept for 6 hours, the baby's so good. I'm like, no, your baby is starving. Like, wake up your baby.
Oh, wake the
What
baby
are
up.
you
I know.
doing?
Thank you for joining us. It is time for us to have real conversations about motherhood, so we're not living in these fantasies and waking up to the shock of our lives. We are happy to have special guest Theresa Lasbrey Peters, who is a mom, a doula, lactation consultant, and she is the realest of the realest to have this conversation with. Thank you for joining us, and don't forget to click subscribe.
Many people have fantasized about being a mom. I know at times I have also. And we have this idea of what motherhood should be, or what we expect motherhood to be. And then when a lot of people become moms, they're shocked at some of the changes in their lifestyle, oftentimes surprised and feel kind of caught off guard. I know people say that there's no way to prepare truly for parenthood, whether it's motherhood or fatherhood. But certainly you would think that you have some insight on certain aspects of change in your life or changes that you should expect in life. However, as some of the recent survey, one that is more popularly known is the State of Motherhood, done as an annual survey by Motherly, and we're going to touch on some of their reports from 2003, where moms are sharing just how their lives have changed as being moms. It's always great to have Theresa Lasbrey Peters back with us. In addition to being the expert doula, as a full spectrum doula and a lactation educator, and of course, is founder and CEO of Nnenna Birth, we're always excited to learn what her journey is like as a mother herself. And so thank you, Theresa, for joining us again today. I'm excited to hear a little bit of the tea about motherhood. So one of the things, Theresa, that was really surprising to me with just looking at some of these surveys is just how much women are reporting their life change in terms of their own self-care and how much time they have to themselves.
Oh my goodness.
So share with us, what was that transition like for you? Did you have a realistic expectation?
You know, before children, I didn't think I was particularly glamorous. You know, I would dress up nice here and there, super cash, super yoga, super like, just chill. And then after children, it has to be extremely intentional, and there has to be a focus on showing up around self-care, around glamming up. It doesn't happen effortlessly, right? And it's a part of my life that I took for granted, like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I take this time. When you're juggling multiple schedules and you're in charge of other people's well-being, sometimes the thing that you lose is your own attention to yourself. That doesn't work, but that's what happens.
And how do you adjust to that change?
How do we adjust to it? Sometimes we don't, right? Sometimes you look you look back at the pictures and you're like, wow, I was going through it. Or you look back at the pictures when you were like, oh, I thought I was struggling then, but I looked great then. Look at how I'm looking and feeling now. I think you handle it with grace. One of my favorite books is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And one of the four agreements are like, don't assume anything, don't take anything personal, always do your best. Always do your best really changes with where you
like
are.
that.
If you have the flu, if you're sick, if so you do your best for where you are. And I think that we should be gracious for ourselves for where we are, where our resources are, where our physical, mental stores are. Be good at that one thing. When it comes to children, be good at that one thing, and everything else can just go somewhere else, right? Like for me, with the children, I was good at giving birth. Then I was good at breastfeeding.
I got you.
And that was just my one job.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably wasn't good at keeping house, and I used to be great at keeping house. And then
Mm-hmm.
and once I mastered that and I was able to do this one thing to keep this little baby alive, then I got my house back in order. And then when I got my house back in order and got my life together and was glammed up, then I had another baby and that just scattered it to the wind.
Then it was all over again.
All over.
I like that perspective of having a single goal each phase that you're going through. One of the things that was really remarkable is just how the intimate lifestyle have changed with motherhood, as some people report that their date nights had decreased by 43%. Most would have either 1 or 2 date nights per month. 51% said that they prioritize sleep over socializing with family and friends. I don't take offense to moms who tell me, no, I can't hang. I am excited when they have at least one time they can join us and go out and do stuff. So I totally get that. 62% says that they have less than 1 hour in the day for themselves. And 54% are having less sex than the year before. So how do you keep up with she laughs at that. How do you keep your intimate life and keep your partner? Because a lot of people are in some type of partnership or relationship. So how do you keep that, what's some people view as the foundation, even as the core, and children becomes after that as a responsibility. So how do you balance that?
There are so many ways. I think there's not one way to approach it. And yes, your relationship, the partnership, and if if you're the people that produce this child together, your relationship, or you're the people that choose to raise these children together, they are the foundation. They're the bowl that holds everything. Like the bowl holds the family life, the children, you guide them until you no longer can. So, like you were talking about date night. I was like, what's date night? Like, what's that? There's no such thing
Oh, is
as
that why you laugh?
yeah, I'm like date night. When? When?
So
much.
so so when we think of motherhood, should we release the fantasies of having date night? Should that
No. I think you have to
basically
be disciplined and like disciplined. Like there are things that I tell people when they first have babies that nobody ever does. Like there's this thing they'll be like, "Oh, sleep when the baby sleeps." Nobody sleeps when the baby sleeps until it comes and
okay,
it
I've
smacks.
heard that.
Yeah, people just get until you get smacked down and you're like, "Ooh, I need to sleep when this baby sleeps." Um, but for a while you'll be like not sleeping, cleaning, doing too much, and then life will tell you to sit down. Date night, like first baby, there was no such thing as date night, right? Like, I think, I mean, it depends on your relationship before you have children. Hopefully you were able to really be connected and enjoy each other so that when you have children, you can focus on the work that is that is this raising this child or these
Mm-hmm.
children. And then somewhere in there, sort of bring back and put back into place the things that you need to foster your relationship. But I think that the relationship foundationally needs to be strong, right? Um, I say this to all my clients, babies are destructive of relationships. If you have a
Those are finding words.
they
A
destroy
lot of people are not going to like you saying that.
they destroy relationships. I'll tell you, as what did the kids say on the internet? I'm gonna stand on business all
Stand
10
on
toes.
business. Yes. Are you standing on business
I'm
that
gonna stand
babies
on that.
actually do destroy
So,
relationships?
yeah, because so babies do. So like if you have a very strong like if you have a strong relationship, the baby will
Mm-hmm.
come in and challenge everything. Then you're like then you're calling to question your values. Are your values really aligned? Then your family's around, like like are you gonna is your partner going to stand up to their mother and all this other stuff? And then so all the challenges that come up when babies come, you want to breastfeed, they want you to combo feed, you want a formula feed, they want you to breastfeed, like all this other stuff. You want to physically disciplined. They don't want to physically discipline. I mean, In our house, we believe in never touching a child, but we'll fight adults. So I'm just reserving time for when my kids are old enough for me to physically fight them. So I was saying, I promised my son when he turned 23, it'll be him and me.
It'll be
So,
a wrap.
but he was like, Mommy, you're gonna do that? I'm like, yes, I'm gonna work out so I can be ready for you in my old age. So yeah, so now so think about it. A very strong relationship has all these challenges, but most of those strong relationships weather it, right? Like they dip and they dive, they're like swaying trees, they adjust, you remember that you are two sides on two people on the same side of the same team. And it usually levels itself out, or you do the work, or you do the hard work to stay together. Or and sometimes the work is hard, sometimes it's not hard, sometimes all that, but a strong relationship weathers the birth of a child. A relationship that is weak or on its last legs, a child will come and scatter that relationship. Babies
I
do not
love
save
that
relationships.
I love that you bring out that point, because there are some individuals who will try to get pregnant or utilize a pregnancy on both ends, right? To try to keep a relationship.
Keep them that like that's like trying to
I've yet to see it actually work.
yeah, it's like trying to I don't know, trying to walk, and then you're like, I have a limp. Let me just put a bullet hole in my leg, right? Like, because that's what a baby is. Like, I had a limp. My relationship wasn't working, but let me just scatter it to the winds, right? It's the baby is not about your relationship. The baby is about the baby. And you two are now doing this hardcore work to keep this person alive. And it's not about you. It's not about me. We are working together. Can you work with that person? If you couldn't work with that person before a baby, if you two couldn't be on the same page, if you couldn't really get it together, what makes you think that this additional extreme stressor is going to all of a sudden bring out the best in everyone?
Right.
I happen to really enjoy the person that I'm married to, and he's an extremely like just a wonderful partner and an awesome father. And even I look at him like, oh, take your kids and leave me alone, right? Like, so even in that
Self-silence.
scenario, even I look at it and I'm like, what did I do? Right? Like, why am I in this? And I wanted these children, I wanted this marriage. So I would say that children really, like, they are very challenging. They challenge your values, and they really let you know who you are, and they let you know who your partner is. And they bring you to a point where you have to actively choose for some of us every day that you want to be in this situation with this person, with this work. And you can't,
Wow.
yeah.
The other thing I heard that children will challenge is your sleep. So we want to know. We want to know. So every friend that has become a mother has started to act brand new. So when I say I'm tired, they're like, oh, you do not know what tired is. So we want to know, give us a scoop. How much sleep do you really get when you become a mom?
Okay, Dr. Taska, you know that sleep that happens after you push out a baby or you have a baby surgically extracted out of you. It's like the shell shock sleep, right? That's like the only sleep you get after a baby. um, Babies challenge sleep because we do not have a realistic idea of baby sleep patterns and how to get optimal sleep when we have children, right? So people have this expectation, oh, did the baby sleep through the night? But the first thing you want to ask, do you ever sleep through the night? You know that you rouse yourself up, you wake up in the middle of the night. Sometimes you go for water, sometimes you use the bathroom, sometimes you go back to sleep, but you, as an adult, you do not sleep through the night. And so there's this expectation of this newborn, or maybe this 6-month-old, or maybe this 1-year-old, or whatever age your child is, to sleep through the night. And it's like, it's this added layer of stress because you're just trying to figure out your child and your routine and all that other stuff. And then there are all the people with the judgments like, oh, the baby's not sleeping, what's going on, when that's the norm. Sleep was greatly challenged because you go from regular stretches of sleep, right? When people sleep 6, 7, 8 hours, if you out here being luxurious 10 hours, and then you have a baby that basically wakes up and feeds like every 2 hours. And if your baby is sleeping longer than
Say
two
that one
hours,
more time. Baby
hmm,
wakes up and sleep. How often
every
does
two
it baby wake?
hours. And if okay, and every 1.5 to 2 hours. And they really like they don't really wake up. They just kind of sleep and eat and sleep and sleep and sleep. But you have to be responsive to their eating, their nutritional needs. And if they sleep for like if some people will have a new baby and be like, oh, I slept for 6 hours, the baby's so good. I'm like, no, your baby is starving. Like, wake up your baby.
Oh, wake the
What are
baby up.
you
I know.
doing?
My baby
What
slept all
are you
night.
doing? What? So it's an adjustment from going from a stretch of sleep to like polyphasic sleep where you sleep, wake up, sleep, wake up, sleep, wake up, sleep, wake up. And if you have to do anything more than feed the baby and be functional, it is extremely challenging, which is why postpartum is so important. People plan their births, but they don't plan their postpartum. Right. And so if you planned your postpartum, then you would have a better chance at having an easier transition into parenthood. You know, I'm a proponent of postpartum doulas, but also like in my mom's culture, the umagwa, where your mom comes and she takes care of you for 90 days and she bathes you, she bathes the baby, she feeds the baby, she does all those things. Now, for me as a breastfeeding mom, it didn't necessarily work for me for my mom to feed my baby, but she could come and baby and mother me. Um, so sleep is extremely challenging with a newborn. It can be alleviated if you have a certain acceptance of the norm, right? The acceptance is that you will not be sleeping for hours on end. If you're breastfeeding, you are the source of food. So you are rousing every 1.5 to 2 hours because you're supposed to nurse 10 to 12 times a day. Not every 3 hours, but every 1.5 to every 2 hours. You might be able to sneak in a little nap for like 3, maybe 4 hours once a day, but that's it. So imagine your sleep is constantly being disturbed. What are the strategies that you're going to put in place so that you can allow yourself to you know ease into this and transition into this and deal with it? I mean, the first thing is acceptance. Once you accept all the things that come with new parenthood and you stop fighting it, then it's not as stressful, it's not as painful, it's not as devastating. If you stop saying this should not be, or am I doing it right, or there's something wrong here, as opposed to just really accepting what is normal. So maybe it's a matter of getting some education before you have the baby about what is normal and getting a refresher when you actually have the baby, because you won't remember what you learned in your pregnancy. You just don't, right? But you're
Mhm.
getting that refresher to understand what is normal. What is normal breastfeeding behavior? What is normal feeding behavior for a baby that's bottle fed, whether pumped milk or formula fed? And if you're going to pump, what are your goals and what are you going to do to maintain your supply, and just different things. And you're well aided by having someone who will help you plan this, will help you work through this, as opposed to you cannot get breastfeeding advice from somebody's mama who's never breastfed in her life, or your friends who like, I tried, but it didn't work, because they didn't have the proper support. I'm a certified
Mhm.
lactation counselor, and I always say that I'm part of the breastfeeding mafia, which doesn't mean that everyone has to breastfeed, but me being part of the breastfeed mafia is that I personally had to breastfeed or die. Like that was my motto, that I was going
Mhm.
to do it. So I found ways to make it work for me. One of the main things that I did so that I could sleep more was
Mhm.
co-sleep. Now, co-sleeping, there's all types of, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the US, baby
Yes.
ABCs alone on their back, clear of everything in the bed. And then there's this guy, James McKenna, he's a PhD. He talks about the co-sleeping habits all over the world. and how it's done safely. And he's done numerous studies. So everything I think is your family choice. We co-slept. And the kids are always in our bed. They're 30 years old. They're still in the bed. Their bed. I'm sleeping on the couch. That's their bed now,
Yeah, I know there's lots of criticism about the fact that in our culture we're very separatist, like we value separating baby from mom, whereas not just even culturally in other cultures, but also even in the animal kingdom, that you don't see that. You actually see oftentimes the baby's completely attached to their moms, and that's probably more of a natural habitat or a natural relationship or uh, a natural routine than it is to try to separate them that early, because they don't know safety, and they like the continuous reassurance that they are safe. So it's interesting. I do think we're going to see more challenges to the co-sleeping or not. And I think that debate is going to be ongoing. But one debate that is not ongoing is the fact that we are realizing more and more just how much motherhood challenges your mental health. And I'm going to ask you, because I would definitely say we have noticed post-pandemic, from multitude of reasons, the increased need or seeking of services. And what's interesting about the last year survey is that 46% of moms who responded to the survey said that they were actively seeking therapy, which is a great thing because it means people are now being proactive about their mental health. But were you surprised at how much motherhood challenges your mental health?
You know what? I think when you're not thinking critically, when you just like kind of go in based on the soap opera version of parenthood, where you're watching a
The
soap opera,
fantasy.
little Jimmy is a baby, and then 3 months later he's grown up and he's causing a ruckus. He's dating everybody's daughter, right? Because that this idea of birth and babies and all these other things. If you have a unrealistic idea of what it's supposed to be, then yes, it's very shocking, right? Like if you're not conscious of it, but then when you're in the weeds, when you're in it, you're like, oh, this makes sense. This is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Even just the impact of the lack of sleep, right? Like every 2 hours
everything.
and not having effective sleep, and then the exhaustion on top of that,
It's
the recovery
everything.
from childbirth, the challenges of relationship. I think you kind of touched on just about everything.
It's everything, because think about it. So one of the first things that predisposes you to have postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety is a pre-existing experience, right? So like if you had depression or anxiety in your life, or if you just had some levels of that, when you have a baby, you're more likely to have that happen, and then on top of that, there are all types of things that are setting you up, right? So there's the hormonal drop, but that hormonal drop, baby blue, should last a few weeks. But if it's continuing, that's when we start looking at depression. But then there's this whole like, why do I feel this way? Why aren't things better? Why, why am I not happy? There's all the this is controversial now. So Dr. Taska, don't fight me. But I actually
Do I
do.
need to close my ears at this point?
Yes, you should. You should close your ears. So there is a lot of talk about labor medication and its impact on people's mental health afterwards. This is not like, ooh, tin hat, tin hat. So there's a specific study that says, and I really don't want to butcher the numbers, but I think it's something like the use of Pitocin, the use of synthetic oxytocin, has an impact on I think it increases your chances of postpartum depression up to 9 months later. So there's something.
So they found it statistically significant, whatever the increase was.
Yeah. But it's that. So that it's that, but it's also like it's everything else, because there's nothing in our society that supports us postpartum.
No.
So I there's a maternal fetal medicine, breastfeeding doctor, Allison Stubbe. And I actually went to school with her. I went to high school with her. And I remember having a conversation with her in the recent past. And she was like, she talks about when you have a baby, you're like, the baby is like, candy in a wrapper, and the baby, once people get the candy out of the wrapper, they just throw out the wrapper. So you as a mother, you're the wrapper and you just discard it. The candy is the baby. Everybody wants the baby, but nobody wants to take care of the mother. And the birthing person, the birthing parent. And the birthing parent is everything. Like in my mother's native tongue, there's this name called, and I say this, repeat this to all my clients, Nneka, which means mother is supreme. And once the mother is taken care of, once the person who gave birth to this baby is taken care of, everybody is okay. But if you don't take care of the person that gave birth to this baby, it is a problem. But people don't understand that. They want to come to your house, you have the baby, they want to come to your house and hold your baby while you clean and prepare food for them.
Right.
So we have so the main thing
is unreasonable.
Is unreasonable. And so to protect your mental well-being postpartum, there are things that that I have recommendations about what you should have in place after you have this baby. One is get support, like get true support. Like family can visit in the hospital, but in the house, if you're not coming to clean my house or serve me food, you cannot come those first couple of months.
Hey, you guys, Theresa gave us such great insights and tips on motherhood that we had to split it into 2 episodes. So if you want to find out, is Theresa stepping on some more toes with her recommendations? You want to make sure you check out one of our upcoming episodes. And if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and click subscribe and give us a thumbs up so more moms will be prepared for motherhood.
Theresa, if they want to find out more about your services, because I know you do provide postpartum doula services because you're a full-spectrum doula, and especially because you are a certified lactation consultant, folks may really want to call you up for some services. So how do they contact you? In addition, if you have those bouncy babies that love the bouncer, also contact them.
Yeah, I am Nnenna Birth, Nnenna Birth at Nnenna Birth on Instagram, on Twitter, formerly X, formerly known as Twitter.
Whatever it is,
XB, XYZ, Facebook. And you can email me at Theresa, THERESA, at Nnenna Birth, NNABIRTH.com. And
awesome.
www.nnennabirth.com. And if you want to call me, my number's out there too. So hit me up.
Hit her up. As always, I'm the hand behind the handle of Healthy Bump Club right here on YouTube, and the hand behind the handle of Healthy Bump .club on Instagram. We thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, I know you did enjoy Theresa and all her realness on this episode, make sure you check her out on some of our other episodes. She laid down some other facts and realness because she's going to come with the research, as y'all see. I love it. I love it. Always great conversation. Always good to have you on the couch, Theresa. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you guys when next episode.